Have you ever had a season where you were doing all the right things on paper, working hard, staying busy, reading self-improvement content, trying to be positive, yet your life still felt off? Like you're sprinting, but somehow you're not getting closer to where you actually want to go. If that's you, here's a tough truth that can also be incredibly freeing. Sometimes the problem isn't your effort. It's your map. Today we're going to break down the big ideas behind the 7 habits of highly effective people, but not as a quick list of tips. We're going deeper. Why these habits work, why people struggle to apply them, and how to turn them into a real-world system you can live by. And I want to be clear, this isn't about manipulating people, hacking productivity, or winning arguments. This framework is about rebuilding success from the inside out, so the results you get aren't just impressive, they're sustainable. Stick with me, because near the middle we'll walk through a few real-life stories, work, relationships, burnout, and you'll see exactly how these habits change outcomes. And at the end, I'll give you a simple 7-day and 30-day plan to start immediately. Let's start at the root. Part 1. Your map might be wrong. Paradigms. Most of us assume we see the world objectively. But in real life, we see the world through a lens. Covey calls that lens a paradigm, your mental model of what's happening and what it means. Here's the simplest metaphor. Imagine you're in Chicago, but you're holding a map of New York. You can run faster. You can stay optimistic. You can learn better navigation skills. But if the map is wrong, the best version of effort just makes you lost faster. That is a brutally important insight. Because a lot of people don't need more discipline. They need a paradigm shift. For example, if your paradigm is, my value comes from approval, then you'll shape your whole life around being liked, even when it costs you your peace. If your paradigm is, success is quick results, you'll chase shortcuts and burn out whenever progress slows. If your paradigm is, life is competition, you'll treat relationships like negotiations you must win, and trust will quietly disappear. So before we talk about habits, we have to talk about principles. A principle is a stable truth that works like gravity, whether you believe it or not. It still operates. Trust compounds. Integrity matters. Relationships require investment. Health has consequences. A lot of modern success content focuses on surface-level tactics. Covey's framework is different. It's principle-centered. Part 2. Image vs. Character. Why results don't last. One of Covey's strongest critiques is what I'll call the shiny sticker problem. You can put shiny stickers on a broken foundation. You can learn charisma. You can learn sales scripts. You can learn persuasion tactics. You can learn what to say in every situation. But if your character is weak, if you don't keep your word, if you avoid responsibility, if you blame everyone else, then sooner or later people notice. And when they notice, trust drops. And trust is not a nice to have. Trust is the foundation of leadership, teamwork, love, long-term business, reputation, and inner peace. So the core promise of the 7 habits is not how to look successful. It's how to become the kind of person who produces success as a byproduct of who you are. That's why the framework is built in stages. Private victory, you with you. Public victory, you with others. Renewal, keep it alive. Private victory. Habits 1 to 3, dependence, right pointing arrow, independence. Habit 1. Be proactive, stop being push button. Being proactive doesn't mean being upbeat 24/7. It means you accept one huge reality. Between what happens to you and how you respond, there is a space. And in that space, you have freedom. Most people live like push buttons. Someone criticizes you, right pointing arrow, you explode. Traffic is bad, right pointing arrow, you're furious. A plan changes, right pointing arrow, you spiral. But a proactive person pauses and asks, what do I want my response to represent? What value do I want to live right now? This is where the circle of influence becomes powerful. Circle of concern, the economy, other people's opinions, politics, the weather, your past mistakes, the algorithm. Circle of influence, your attitude, your routines, your skills, your boundaries, your next action. You don't need to ignore the world. You just need to stop donating your energy to what you can't control. Real life story, work. A guy I'll call Marcus worked in customer support at a mid-sized US company. He was always frustrated, the customers are unreasonable. The policies are stupid, my manager doesn't get it. And he wasn't wrong, some customers were rude. And some policies were messy. But his life was shrinking because he lived in the circle of concern. One day he made a small shift. Every morning he wrote down 2 lists. What's outside my control today? What can I influence today? He started controlling response time. He improved how he explained policy. He documented recurring issues clearly. He offered solutions instead of complaints. Within a few months, he became the person managers relied on when things went wrong. His influence expanded, and eventually, he moved into operations, because proactive people become leaders without trying to act like leaders. That's habit 1. Habit 2. Begin with the end in mind, live by design. Habit 2 is about living intentionally. Covey says everything is created twice. First in your mind, the design. Then in reality, the build. If you don't design your life, you will drift into someone else's design. Family expectations, social media standards, work culture defaults, fear-based decisions. So the end in mind is not just goals. It's identity and values. A powerful exercise is imagining your own funeral, not in a morbid way, but as clarity. What do you want people to say you stood for? What kind of partner were you? What kind of friend? What kind of leader? What kind of human being? That becomes the seed of a personal mission statement. And this mission statement doesn't have to be poetic. It can be practical. I value integrity over image. I want to build health, not sacrifice it. I will treat people with respect, especially under pressure. I will create work I'm proud of, and relationships that last. Here's why this matters. When you have a clear end, you make better, now, decisions. You say no faster. You waste less time. You stop chasing what doesn't fit your values. Habit 3. Put first things first, priorities greater than busyness. Habit 3 is execution. Most people don't fail because they lack information. They fail because the urgent consumes the important. Covey's time framework highlights the golden quadrant. Important but not urgent. This is where the real-life change happens. Health routines, planning, learning, relationship building, long-term projects, prevention. Here's a classic metaphor connected to Covey that shows up in Glass's reading highlights: the big rocks idea. If you don't put the big rocks, your true priorities, into the jar first, you'll fill your life with sand and pebbles and never make room for what matters. Real-life story, burnout. A woman I'll call Sarah worked in marketing. She was productive but exhausted. Her calendar was stacked, Slack notifications all day. She kept saying, "I just need a vacation." But the problem wasn't only workload. It was priority structure. She spent her best mental hours on other people's emergencies. Then at night, she tried to work on her own growth. That's backwards. She made one change: big rocks first. Every weekday morning, before email, she did 30 minutes of health, walk, yoga, or strength. 45 minutes of deep work on one meaningful project. She didn't magically gain time. She reclaimed time. Within weeks, she felt calmer, not because life was easier, but because her day had a backbone. When your priorities lead, your stress drops. Habit 3 is not about cramming more into your schedule. It's about aligning your schedule with your values. Public victory. Habits 4 to 6. Independence, right pointing arrow, interdependence. Once you build inner discipline and clarity, you can collaborate without losing yourself. Habit 4. Think win-win, abundance versus scarcity. Win-win is not a negotiation trick. It's a life philosophy. The scarcity mindset says, if you win, I lose. The abundance mindset says, there might be enough for both of us. But here's the mature part. Win-win isn't people-pleasing. It requires courage and clarity. Sometimes the best win-win is, no deal. Because if an agreement leaves one person resentful, the relationship becomes fragile. The cost shows up later as passive aggression, avoidance, or silent sabotage. Win-win builds relationships that last. And in business, relationships that last beat transactions that don't. Habit 5. Seek first to understand, then to be understood. Listen like a pro. This habit is the fastest relationship transformer in the entire book. Most people listen to reply. They listen to defend. They listen to prove a point. Empathic listening is different. It's not agreeing, it's understanding. And understanding lowers defensiveness. Glasp's Covey summary highlights emotional bank accounts, the idea that relationships are like a trust account. Every act of respect, kindness, reliability is a deposit, every betrayal, dismissal, or inconsistency is a withdrawal. That is incredibly practical. Because once you accept that trust is an account, you stop asking, how do I win this moment? And you start asking, how do I build this relationship? Real life story, relationship conflict. A couple argues about money. The surface fight is numbers. The real fight is fear. One partner says, you're irresponsible. The other says, you're controlling. But when one person finally asks, genuinely, what are you afraid will happen? The answer often changes everything. I'm afraid we won't be safe. I'm afraid we'll end up like my parents. I'm afraid I'm not enough. When you understand the fear underneath, you stop fighting the person and start solving the problem. That's habit 5. Habit 6. Synergize. Differences create breakthroughs. Synergy is not compromise. Compromise is, we both lose a little. Synergy is, we create a third option that's better than both. But synergy only happens when trust is high. If trust is low, differences become threats. If trust is high, differences become assets. In a healthy team, someone can say, I see it differently, and the room gets curious, not defensive. A simple synergy mantra is, you see something I don't. Show me. That attitude turns conflict into innovation. Renewal. Habit 7. Keep the engine running. Habit 7. Sharpen the saw. Renewal in 4 dimensions. Habit 7 is how you avoid becoming effective for a year, and burnt out for 5. The metaphor is simple. If you keep cutting with a dull saw, you'll work harder and get less. Renewal happens in 4 areas. Physical, sleep, nutrition, movement. Mental, reading, learning, thinking, writing. Social, emotional, relationships. Empathy, contribution. Spiritual, meaning, values. Quiet, nature, reflection, whatever aligns with your beliefs. This habit is where many high achievers fail. They chase results but neglect renewal. They protect deadlines but ignore health. They optimize work but starve meaning. And then they wonder why they feel empty even when they win. Habit 7 is the reminder. Effectiveness without renewal is temporary. The system. How to apply this in real life. 7 days plus 30 days. Let's turn theory into action. The 7-day starter plan. Day 1. Circle of influence. Write 5 things you can control this week. Act on 1. Day 2. Proactive pause. Practice the 2-second pause before replying in one tense moment. Day 3. Draft a mission statement, 5 sentences. Simple and real. Day 4. Big rocks. Identify your top 3 priorities, schedule them first. Day 5. Win-win. Pick one conversation and aim for mutual benefit, not dominance. Day 6. Listening. Ask one person, help me understand your perspective, and summarize back. Day 7. Sharpen the saw. Choose one renewal habit you can sustain, 20 minutes. The 30-day build plan, simple and realistic. Pick one habit focus per week. Week 1. Habit 1, proactive. Daily. 1 circle of influence action plus 1 proactive pause. Week 2. Habits 2 to 3, design plus priorities. Daily. Review mission statement in the morning. Do 2 big rocks before noon. Week 3. Habits 4 to 5, trust plus listening. Daily. 1 deposit into someone's emotional bank account, kindness. Reliability. Week 4. Habits 6 to 7, synergy plus renewal. Daily. Invite one differing viewpoint. Schedule renewal like it's a meeting. If you do that for 30 days, you'll feel something shift, not because life becomes perfect, but because you become centered. Here's the takeaway that matters most. There is no shortcut to character. There are shortcuts to looking successful, but not to becoming someone who can sustain success. If you only change tactics, you might get short-term wins. If you change your paradigm and build habits around principles, you get a life that holds up under pressure. So don't just ask, what should I do? Ask, who am I becoming? That question changes everything. If you want, drop a comment with 2 things. Which habit you need most right now? What's one big rock you'll schedule this week?